Hi there, welcome to this tutorial where we will create a fully functional AI assistant using Streamlit and Ollama. Now if you are new here, don't worry, this video is completely beginner friendly. By the end of this session, you will have a deeper understanding of Streamlit, its components, and how we integrate it with a local open source LLM hosted using Ollama to build interactive AI applications. Let's dive in. First, let's check the demo of the application that we are going to build today. We have an AI assistant which allows us to switch open source model using the sidebar. Then we can ask it anything like how we do with ChatGPT and it will respond from its knowledge. Awesome, right? And here I am using DeepSeek R1. I have switched the model. Okay, since we know now what we are going to build, let's get into some theory first. What is Streamlit? Streamlit is an open source Python framework that makes it ridiculously easy to build an interactive web application. You don't need to write complex front-end coding. All you need is few Python scripts. It is perfect for building data apps, dashboard interfaces, AI assistant like the one we are building today. Some key features of Streamlit includes you can build an interactive modern web app using Python. Streamlit updates instantly as you code using live reload feature. You can use input, button, even chat messages with simple function calls. Now let's see the architecture of the application that we are going to build today. Here is how it will work. We will have a user interface with an input field which allows user to type their query. We will also display the chat history to the user. The app will send the user query to our Ollama server hosted locally, where we have few open source models already pulled in and running. Then we will use LangChain expression language. The open source model will process the query, generate a response, and Streamlit streams the response back to the user in real time. Let's walk through the code step by step. But before we go there, right, I would strongly recommend, if you don't know how to install and run Python using intelliJ, please check out my previous tutorials. I will provide a link to these videos in the description of this tutorial. You can also check one of my previous tutorial where I teach you how to install Ollama, how to pull the open source model and interact with the open source model. It will be extremely helpful. All right, the first thing that we need to do is open intelliJ IDEA Community Edition. And I have created a folder in my local machine. I've named it as AI Assistant Streamlit. Now let me open that folder. It is under your definitions, AI Assistant. Currently it is empty. I don't have anything in that. And I have opened this folder. Now this .idea file gets created automatically. You can ignore it. It is internal to intelliJ. The first thing we need to do, if you have already seen my previous tutorial on how to install Python and run it using intelliJ, you know that first we need to create a virtual environment, right? So let me pull this up. I can go to File, I can go to View, I can go to Tool Windows and View, Tool Windows and Terminal. I can click here, it will open my terminal. The first thing we need to do is create virtual environment. I can save. Before that, right, let's always verify Python is installed in our system. If not, install Python first. Python version, yeah, Python version is. This is the Python version. That means Python is already installed in my system. Next thing is, what I will do is, I will say Python -m venv the command and the name of the virtual environment .venv. I will press enter and it will create the virtual environment. If we see here it created a virtual environment, right? The next step that we are going to do is activate this virtual environment. That I can do in my Mac machine using source.venv bin and activate. Now, if you are using a Windows machine, then what you can do is you can go to venv.venv/scripts, activate and enter. Open Powershell, type this command and enter. Now, if you're getting an error which says unauthorized access, then execute the below command. I will give this command in the description of this video. No need to worry about it. Now, since we activated the virtual environment, next step is installing the dependencies. Now, what dependency do we need? We will need pip install LangChain first. And it is installing LangChain. The next step will be we will install Streamlit and Ollama chat, since we will use both of them, right? So LangChain is done. We will install pip install LangChain Ollama, and we have installed this as well. Next, we will install Streamlit. Pip install Streamlit. Okay, it's getting installed in our virtual environment. So once it gets installed, in the meantime, what we can do is yeah, it got installed, right? So the next step that we are going to do is create a package. I will say Python package crack break make, and I will say the Python class will be, in my case, Streamlit Assistant, right? Streamlit Assistant. Enter and add. Next, for the interest of time, okay, before we go there, right? Maybe we need to configure the Python interpreter. How do we do this? We have to go to File. We have to go to Project Structure. Then we have to click on the SDK. We have to add a new SDK from the disk. And since we already created a virtual environment which will have the Python interpreter, I will say click existing. I will browse to it. I will browse to my directory where I have this AI assistant, the venv that I created. Then I will go inside bin and I will select the Python. Now, in case of Windows, there will be a script inside venv script, and you will have python.exe. Select that, click OK, OK, apply, and OK. Yeah, that means interpreter is set in our system. The next step will be to write a code, right? Let me copy from the code that I have already written in the interest of time, so I can explain it better, right? Yeah. So we have the code here. What it is doing? Yeah, the first thing that we are trying to do is importing Streamlit as ST. Then we are saying is set the page title, right? Then we are creating the sidebar where we can enter the Ollama models. I mean, the open source model that we need, right? Currently, I have set a default value, this one, which I already pulled using Ollama. Please check my previous video, how we install Ollama and how we pull the model from Ollama registry. That will be very helpful. Next is we are creating a session state. Now you might wonder, what is the state? Now state allows us to effectively share state or variables between reruns. For a simple example would be, if you want to share your card between two different pages, store it in the session state, right? In our case, we want to store the messages, the conversations that we will have with the chat model. Next, we were checking if you have already entered the model. If you have already entered the model name in the sidebar, then we will first display all the messages from the session state. Next, we will create a chat model, right? Where we will say this is the model, and I can even give it temperature equals 0, right? So what is the use of temperature? Temperature influences the balance between predictability and creativity. A higher temperature leads to a more diverse and potentially surprising result, while a lower temperature prioritizes exploiting learned patterns, producing more consistent and expected responses. Means lower the temperature, the better the result, right? And higher the temperature, it might give you unexpected results. Next we are doing is creating system message. We are creating prompt template. Then we are saying the system message, some history, and a human message. System message, right? System message is a set of instructions that we give to the AI model to guide its behavior and ensure it generates response that align with our tasks or the context, right? And a human message is like a query to the AI model to generate the response, right? And since we will pass the history, now why do we need a history, right? If you use ChatGPT, if you ask your name at the first time, it will not know what's your name. But if you say that my name is XYZ, the next time you ask it, what is my name? It will say XYZ. How does it know it? Because it will grab all your conversation and it will feed it to the LLM the next time you post a query. So this is like the chat history, it is feeding to the LLM again. So we need a history here, right? Now we are creating a LangChain expression here, right? What we are saying is LangChain expression, or let's say LCEL, what it allows us is to pipe multiple components together to create a chain. First, I am creating a prompt, then I am piping it to a LLM, means I am creating a prompt and feeding it to the LLM, right? I can pipe even output here, which I can say like standard JSON structured output or string structured output, etc., right? Then we will create a chain. Next step is the input box, right? Where we will take the user input, and we gave a placeholder here saying how can I help you today. So once we have this input from the user, we will assign it to a prompt variable only if it is not none. This is the simple does that. If it is not none, then assign to the prompt. Next step is we are appending to the session state, right? With the user role. The user is asking this question in the input box, right? That means the role is user and the content will be the prompt. So it immediately prints in the our chat session, right? Now the next history, here I am constructing the history again, taking all the conversation that we have and constructing a list of messages that we will feed to LLM in later step. The next step is I am printing an assistant in the chat box, right? And then I will invoke the chain with stream. Now what this stream does is it will stream the response, right? It will print word by word instead of getting the whole response at once and printing it, right? So chain.stream streams the response. We get the stream response and finally we will write it to the, we will print it to our chat model, right? Or you can say the chat window, right? Finally, we will append everything to our stateful messages. So next time we rerun, it will be taking from the state. Now, if the model is not there, we will say, please enter Ollama model in the sidebar to continue. So let's run this application. How do I run? I will go to View, Tool Windows, and Terminal again. Then I will say Streamlit run package name, and the file name. And it will launch the Streamlit application. It will launch the Streamlit application in our local browser, right? Now what is happening here, right? The connection is diffused because I don't have the Ollama server running, right? So I have to do is Ollama serve. Why do I have to do this? Because I am using Mac and I downloaded Ollama or installed Ollama via Brew. But if you downloaded Ollama from its website using the download button, in your case it can be Mac or Windows, and you have downloaded using the download button, you don't have to do this step. Yeah, I downloaded via Brew. because I'm using a Mac machine, so I have to do this step. Now let's see how many models I have right in my system. How many open source model I have? I have Ollama 3.1 and DeepSeek R1, right? Now let's go to the application, and I started the server already. Let me relaunch the application again. I will type the same command again, and here I will say hi. What it does is it makes a call to our local Ollama server, right? Here I am giving a user query. It uses the system prompt that we have. It uses our query as the human prompt, and it will take our conversation as the history, and it will feed to Ollama server, which will use one of the open source LLM models. In this case, it is Llama 3.1, and generate the response and stream, right? Stream word by word, print it in our chat window, right? Maybe I will first let me tell me about a student joke. And it says, right, why did the math book look so sad? Because it had too many problems. Okay, let me change the model now. I will use DeepSeek and let's see how it responds. So if you see, it is starting with a think because it is a reasoning model, right? So maybe if you want to know what is the difference between chat model and reasoning model, I will create a video next on this topic. Consider subscribing to the channel and also ask your friends to subscribe to the channel if they are interested more of these AI related topics. Yeah. So this was the application that we had today. What we did today was build an AI assistant using Streamlit and Ollama. We covered Streamlit basics. We integrated Ollama using open source models using LangChain, right? And build a conversational AI app which uses contextual chat history as well. Awesome, right? So next step, maybe you can try out different version of Ollama, pull Ollama different open source models through Ollama. Go to the Ollama website, click one of the open source model, download it, yeah, and change the model name and play around, right? Maybe you can customize the system message, tell it to be a scholar, tell it to be a writer or a reviewer, give it different inputs and see how it behaves, right? Yeah, and I will provide all the links, the code, and the videos and the related videos in the description. So don't worry about it. Don't forget to again like, comment, and subscribe for more tutorials, right? See you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.